Good morning. I hope you're all having a good week as we're getting ready to as we are in the final few days of class. And we're going to take a look at Henry IV, Part 1, Presentation 4. At this point, I'm not sure what I will have for Presentation 5, but we'll see. Remember, you do have the quiz on Friday. And just running through the thing, please remember Friday, May 7th, Quinn presents. We got the quiz. The paper is due on the 10th at 11:59 p.m. And I can't believe that I did not wish you all a happy Star Wars Day on Monday. Please accept my belated wishes for a happy Star Wars Day today. One of the things I think we've talked about briefly is this idea of language. And Hotspur, here in Act 5, illustrates once again and says once again something that I think we've already noted. While Harry has this gift of language, Hotspur does not. He says, "Better consider what you have than I, that have not well the gift of tongue." All right? In other words, and then he goes on to say he cannot lift up the blood with persuasion. Notice also that he doesn't have the time to read the letters. He is a man of action. Plain and simple, everything about Hotspur is about action. And to continue, "For I profess not talking, only this: let each man do his best, and here draw I a sword whose temper I intend to stain with the best blood that I can meet withal in the adventure of this perilous day." Remember that the temper is the strength of the steel, and he intends to take this strong steel of his sword. It's about action, not talking. And I think it's important to understand that this is one of the contrasts between Hotspur and Falstaff, who's all about talk, and one of the contrasts between Harry and Hotspur, as Harry can talk to anybody in his, in that person's language. We do need to mention Sir Walter Blunt. Throughout this play, we have appearances and reality, and we'll come back and pick that up at the tail end. But here in Act 5, we have all sorts of people pretending to be the king. Now, this is one of the plays, that we have here because people are accusing Henry IV of pretending to be the king because he doesn't have quite the claim to the throne that they think the king should have. And here, Sir Walter Blunt is dressed as the king. Sir Walter Blunt doesn't drop his disguise at any moment, and he's going to fight. All right? And he's going to fight as the king. It's one of these huge acts of honor that we deal with. And as we talk about the king and honor, we can talk about the Earl of Douglas saying, "A fool go with thy soul whither it goes." In other words, this act of honor was foolish. This act of impersonating the king was foolish. And you can come back to the difference between the Earl of Douglas and Falstaff might well be the courage, but they certainly seem to throw out that they have this similar view of honor. "The borrowed title thou hast bought too dear. Why didst thou tell me you were the king? And again, the king hath many marching in his coats." There's all sorts of people all over the field pretending to be the king. And again, for Douglas and for Hotspur, this would be something that they would think as personifies the dishonor that they believe they're dealing with, because Henry IV, according to them, has not the right to be king. Douglas then comes in, and it comes in contact, with Henry IV. Douglas calls him a counterfeit again, and I think you should take a look at the double meaning. And so they have this huge fight, and Hal or Harry gets into the fight as well, and Notice the mythological illusion about their growing like Hydra's heads. You chop one off, another one comes back on. All right, actually, two grow back. All right, and then we have Falstaff. Whereas the king, who may have been a counterfeit, who we can wonder what's the idea of having everybody impersonate him, is that an act of honor? Falstaff just doesn't deal with it at all. Falstaff, well, we're going to have a fight, and Douglas, they fight. Falstaff just falls down as if he's dead. Why Douglas falls for this, I'm not sure. But notice that Falstaff isn't even going to try very hard. He's just going to fake it. And then when Falstaff comes after the battle moves on, notice nobody sees me. He stabs him in the thigh to show the new wound, to make it look as if Hotspur has come back to life. And then he carries the body forward. If your father will do me any honor, so. If not, let him kill the next Percy himself. I look to be either an earl or a duke. All of this is about getting advanced. Prince Hal says, I killed Percy myself. I saw thee dead. Falstaff's lack of honor continues. He is a reprobate in every sense of the word, in every way that you can have a definition of reprobate. Falstaff fits that definition. Harry, on the other hand, I think illustrates honor. I'm sorry I forgot the lines here, but Harry offers to fight Hotspur one-on-one. And it starts with, in both your armies there is many a soul shall pay dearly for this encounter, if once they join in trial. Tell your nephew, the Prince of Wales doth join him with all the world in praise of Henry Percy. By my hopes this present enterprise is set off his head. I do not think a braver gentleman, more active, valiant, or more valiant young, more daring or more bold, is now alive. In other words, he praises him, and then he offers to fight him to the death. Now remember, Harry has been planning for this thing forever. We've had the speeches in earlier presentations where Harry was getting ready. He knew he was going to come in contact with Hotspur. Now he is willing to push it forward. Okay? Or to put the plan in action. I think also you do have to remember here that the real Harry, the real Henry V, and the Shakespeare Henry V, there's a bit of a conflict here between the two of them. If young Henry had been so much of a drunk, if he had been out boozing and carousing and a total reprobate like Falstaff, there's no way that he could hope to win this fight. And it might be an act of honor to sacrifice all for the kingdom. But the fact is, there's no way that he could hope to beat Hotspur in a fight. And so I think when you take a look at this, please remember that the fictional Harry and the real Harry were two different people. And the real Harry was indeed a soldier, was indeed somebody of great military skill. But for the purpose of the play, notice he is caring about those who are in the lower class, those who are going to be the cannon fodder, those who are going to be killed for no reason, and will to save blood on either side. This is about, keeping people from being killed. Also notice, though, that there's this payoff. Throughout the play, we've seen Harry time and time again talk about how he gets people. And here, he gets people in the fact that Harry knows that Hotspur and Douglas are going to turn it down, that they are confident that they are going to win, and so we're going on to plan B, plan C, plan D. Harry and Honor, as we jump back to that for a second, notice he covers Hotspur's face. He is doing these fair rites of tenderness. And notice, and take thy praise with thee to heaven, thy ignominy sleep with thee in the grave, but not remembered in thy epitaph. We can draw this back to, the evil that men do lives on after them. The good is often interred with their bones. There's a certain flip of that here. We can also take a look at the contrast between Harry, or Hal, and Douglas. You're an idiot, you're a fool go with you to wherever you're going. Here, all the bad stuff gets put in the grave. On the gravestone, we're only putting on the good stuff. The good stuff needs to be remembered. Then I have this WTF moment. If a lie may do thee grace, I'll gild it with the happiest terms I have. And there seems to be a lot of spots here where Hal is getting ready to be king. And maybe giving Falstaff the titles is part of that. It makes Falstaff happy. I don't know. But this does strike me that why are you gilding the lie? It's fine to give him if he doesn't want to take credit for killing Hotspur, that's fine. But it does just strike me as extremely odd that he is going to let Falstaff desecrate the body that he protected and still gain the benefit of everything. It just strikes me as odd given the character arc we've seen. What makes a good ruler? We have some questions about that at the beginning. And look, I think the implication here is that somebody like Harry, who gets people, who can carouse and fight both, is far better. Certainly we see that perhaps Falstaff, as much as we like the lines, as much as we love the character, isn't the adult. Notice that the family unit is put together pretty strongly at the end. We've got the brother, we've got the father, we've got the sons. The question about honor still becomes an open question. Falstaff, who doesn't have any, seems to get stuff. Hotspur, who has it, gets killed. Harry is a tough person to get because if you reconcile his appearances and who he really is, and you reconcile how he reveals himself to everyone, I think this is an important part of the play as well, because how Harry appears to everyone is far different than who he is, and he reveals himself to us more than he reveals himself to other characters. The maturation process, I think in some ways there's this reversal here. Usually the maturation process in a coming of age thing is coming from innocence into wisdom. And it strikes me that Harry has never been innocent. He's been a drunken lout who has always had the wisdom, but now he's come to a place where he knows how to manifest it. Power of words and language, it's certainly there. And by the end of the play, I guess the kingdom has been preserved, so that's what war is good for. But there's this open question about why did all of these people have to die to make this all happen? I think we'll wrap it up for here. There may be some more stuff on Friday. Hope everybody has a good rest of the week. And we'll remember there's the quiz on Friday.